I'm on a not-for-profit that helps women that have been victims of trauma. And a lot of times what happens with trauma, and it's a great thing to understand because the cognitive pattern of it is actually much more common than just the horrendous moments of trauma, is that if you go through something that gives you a negative thought process, and with trauma, it's generally quite deep, right? What happens is that people say, oh, it's my DNA, I'm defined by the past, I can't change anything. We hear that kind of thing a lot, right? And lots of people use it and they don't think about it consciously. They think that, well, it's just my DNA, it's how I'm defined. But what happens with trauma is that it changes your cognitive framework. And your cognitive framework is basically how you think day to day. Make sense? Sorry, I lost you again. Are we back? Okay. So I was saying your cognitive framework is basically how you think. So if you go through a moment of trauma, it changes the pattern of your brain. So if you think about somebody that's been through trauma, they've kind of got this, think about this cognitive pattern as like a cavern in your brain. And in order to start changing it, if you were to take a pebble and start scratching a piece of concrete, it's going to take you a long time and effort to start changing it. And getting out of trauma and creating a new cavern is difficult. So that's one example of people that have been through trauma are stuck in the past. And people who worry a lot are generally thinking either in the past, and they're thinking because of a negative situation or something that happened before. And you can actually apply exactly the same thought process for people that are projecting themselves into the future and thinking things aren't going to work. Does that make sense?
Right. So it's a matter of, like, let's walk into that a little bit more in terms of how you go from being defined from your past to changing that and basically being defined by your current and future. Like,
yes.
That switch in their mind.
Yeah, I think the thing about understanding who you are and getting grounded into the present is about focus. It's simple things like saying, you know, the chimp paradox, quite a famous book about that as well. And there's lots of them with it as well. One of the techniques that I give people is actually to get, like the chimp paradox, is give that voice in your head a name. So first of all, we're not all crazy. And if you're one of those people that has the voices in your head, we all do. That's how the brain works. That's cool. That's okay. But if you give the negative voice a character, you can have a little bit of fun with it. And then you can just say, no, I don't want to listen to you. And when that voice starts coming back, what you're basically doing is changing your habits. And you're just saying, I don't want to listen to that. Instead, I'm going to focus on today. Hey.
Yep, we're back.
Yeah, cool. So I was just saying, so what you're going to think about is I'm only going to focus on today, what I can control, instead of thinking about what happened in the past, which means that nothing, or what could happen in the future, because that also means nothing. The only thing that you can control is what you do today. And when you were talking about doing and being, there's a formula out there in terms of the world of psychology that says to have power, to have control of your life, is about balancing being yourself and what you're doing. And most people, if you think about mental health in the place of work or as a founder, they do lots of doing. Somebody's not happy, they do more. Customer's not happy, they do more. Things aren't going the way they want. Do, but they can lose the essence of being themselves. So for me, getting balanced into the present is about having an understanding of how do you do the right things whilst being yourself, because that's what you can give yourself to give you power and get grounded into the present.
To how does beliefs step into and affect an organization, you know, starting from the top founders down through? Does it start with the founders and their belief systems filter into the organization that they build?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because then we're talking about the touch points of culture and how you create a culture. And a business starts with the belief system of that founder, ends up being the culture of the company. Whether they're conscious or unconscious of that, that's what happens. So the more you can make it conscious in terms of what makes you unique today, why customers like you, why people buy from you, why your idea is good, that helps you grow as well.
Okay, say that again. We didn't catch that.
So I was saying that you're absolutely right. So if you think about an individual founder, it's their belief system, it's their ideas, it's the values that they put out to the world that helps get them through the first phase of their business. Now, sometimes you might do that consciously, and you might say, I know people love my product because of me. It's my service, it's the way I've designed it, it's the way I deliver it, it's how I help people. Or you might do it unconsciously. Either way, you're going to create a culture of a business that other people come into, from customers to employees, and that's what's going to help you grow. Where it becomes a challenge is if you're not conscious of it. When you get to, this is generally my experience, is when people go from, say, 4 or 5 people and they go through a series of funding, or they're just growing and they go to just 10 people, 15 people, 20 people. If they're not conscious of what made them great in the first place, and a lot of that is self-awareness and the beliefs and values and the things that they put out there, they can lose what I call the essence of their brand. And this happens way more than what you might think. You know those moments when you're speaking to somebody and they're like, I don't understand, because like 3 months ago, everything was awesome and it was all working well and I don't know what changed. It happens when people go through a stage of growth. Even to the point, you asked about larger corporations as well, is if you're not conscious of who you are and where you limit or open your kind of culture to creativity, to innovation, to values, you get examples like BlackBerry, right? So BlackBerry, huge organization. It was a Canadian dude that started it, and he was given a contract to create a secure email phone. And you can Google this to your heart's content. It's kind of amusing. It's a little bit sad. But he did an awesome job of this product, but then never innovated and wouldn't listen to his leadership team or his culture in general. So he's on record as saying, over my dead body will our phone ever have a camera. Right? So, and before that in Europe, we had Nokia. Nokia had dominated the market, but they didn't pivot towards a smartphone. They didn't keep up with the innovation of it. So it's not just about being a startup or a growth company. Like your culture can be your culture and your self-awareness can be the thing that makes or breaks your company any size.
Okay. All right. Hey, Marty, we're about out of time here, but I think just some closing thoughts on, we were touching on the enterprise and how it affects clearly, like you're mentioning with, BlackBerry, it absolutely infiltrates the entire organization. If individuals are actually building companies right now, what would be a few takeaways if they are in leadership positions of infiltrating the culture and the belief system with more successful, like, foundational thoughts, principles, and culture?
So I think the thing for me is, the first thing is self-awareness. You have to be aware of what makes you unique, and equally the team that you need around you to cover for the skills that you don't have. Because we've all got a natural talent. If you think you can do everything, the reality is that most people can't, right? You can't just do everything, but you might have some very select talent. Surround yourself with other people like that. The second part for me is culture has many different touch points. It's not just about having values and putting a poster on the wall. It's about empathy. It's about emotional intelligence. It's about, the easiest way to think about culture is, how do I want to be treated every day? So if that's about civility, treating you like an individual, and you being listened to, then make that the same for everybody else. And the third thing for me is, I think you can just surround yourself with people who you trust. Because the best thing about having a trusted network, whether it's friends or business associates, is they can tell you when you're being a dick. And that's always a plus.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I think those last two were absolutely spot on, and having a trusted network around you to literally, like, have permission to tell you you're wrong, you're off base,
Yep.
like you're being a dick, or you're like, those sort of things are so damn important, and I think sometimes founders, because we can be very independent-minded, we tend to possibly not put the right team around us that actually tells us the truth. And so any founders out there, anyone, any entrepreneur looking at, you know, growing an organization, you got to put a team of trusted advisors and mentors around you that have permission to tell you absolutely the truth. And it's almost like you have such a good relationship that it doesn't matter if they're going to be truthful and kind of an asshole to you, because it's absolutely what you need to hear.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the thing that one of the things I've noticed with a lot of individuals and companies that are very successful is they just put together the right group of advisors, mentors that are truth tellers and help right the ship when it needs to be, you know, turned in the right direction. So, all right. Hey, Marty, this was great. Rocketeer, you want to give a little bit of a little shout out, or what do you guys got going on in the next couple weeks?
We've got some top 10 growth hackings. We're about to release a slide share for that, so some tips for you from the sales and marketing point of view. We just signed up with tech.co as well, so I'm willing to give any founders out there that have got any degree of tech in their business. We do free interviews for them as well. I think they've got about 500,000 unique viewers. And beyond that, as I said at the start, our mission is to help entrepreneurs in any way that we can. So we're always open to contact or anything that anyone needs to give us as a people-based challenge.
Great. Hey, would love to see you. You know, we'll see you on Founders Live, and feel free to post any of the content that you guys have. I know you guys have a lot of content that's coming out of that organization, and so, you know, feel free to say hi and post stuff on the platform. But hey, for today, thank you so much, and we will be back here next week, I believe, with Glenn again, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Nick.
Awesome. All right. See you later.